Okay, so you're here, you're dedicated to your indoor cycling.
Absolutely.
Right. You're putting in the work, crushing those sessions week after week. But are you giving the same love to your cool down?
That's a good question. We're diving deep into that today, exploring what often gets overlooked.
Yeah, yeah.
But based on some really fascinating discussions we've been looking at about upping your indoor cycling game, it's a game changer.
The cool down.
The cool down, right? That
Yeah.
often forgotten but oh so important part of a great workout. And, what we're seeing in these discussions about optimizing the whole indoor cycling experience is that it's not just about catching your breath. There's so much more to it.
Absolutely.
So today, we're going to break it all down.
Yeah, you know that feeling like when the ride's over and you're just ready to be done?
Oh, yeah.
This deep dive is going to show you why taking those few extra minutes is going to make a huge difference in your whole routine.
Exactly. And you're here because you want to make the most of your time, right?
Yeah. You want to be efficient, you want results, and understanding the why and the how of a solid cool down.
Absolutely.
That's going to give you exactly that. We're cutting through all the noise, and we're giving you the tools to recover better, to feel amazing, not just today, but for your next ride and the next one after that.
For sure.
So let me ask you, think back. Have you ever, like the second those stats hit zero, you just hop off the bike?
Oh, I think we all have.
I mean, we're all guilty of it. This might just change your whole perspective.
Okay, so let's just get right into it. Why even bother with a cool down? I mean, it's not just about, like, catching your breath, right?
Right.
Our sources are really emphasizing that it's a crucial part of the workout as a whole.
Right.
There are some amazing physiological benefits, and they go way beyond just feeling, less winded.
Absolutely. One of the big things that came up again and again was the importance of gradually lowering your heart rate. We all know that feeling when you just suddenly stop
Yeah.
and you get that like woozy feeling, maybe even a little dizzy. The cool down helps your body avoid that whole unpleasant experience.
What's so fascinating is what happens with your circulatory system during an intense ride. That blood flow is primarily directed to your legs, all those working muscles. And when you suddenly stop, those muscles aren't helping to pump the blood back up to your heart as efficiently.
Right.
So you can get this pooling in your legs, and that's what leads to that lightheadedness.
Oh, okay.
Gradual cool down keeps those muscles engaged just enough to keep that circulation going. It's like a smooth transition for your body.
Makes sense. And it's not just about like preventing that immediate dizziness, right?
Right.
The sources were really clear about how a cool down helps your muscles recover faster.
Yes.
Think about that stiffness, that soreness you sometimes feel the next day. That's where the cool down comes in to really help flesh out all those metabolic byproducts like lactate.
Precisely. So when you're really pushing yourself, your body produces these byproducts, and lactic acid, it's one of them. But that light activity during a cool down actually helps to flush it out more efficiently.
Yeah.
It's like you're actively clearing the way for recovery, rather than just kind of waiting for things to settle down on their own.
Oh, okay. It's like giving your muscles a nice gentle wind down.
Exactly.
And something else that I think is easy to forget is the mental shift that happens during a cool down. I mean, after an intense workout, your mind's still racing,
Absolutely.
A cool down gives you that chance to like transition mentally as well as physically.
That is such a critical point. Intense exercise really activates your sympathetic nervous system. That's your body's go-go-go mode.
Yeah, yeah.
And the cool down helps your body start to switch back to the parasympathetic nervous system, which is all about rest and digest, relaxation.
Right.
And this shift, it helps to lower those stress hormones, and it just promotes a much calmer state, both physically and mentally.
So it's not just a physical thing, it's a mental thing.
Oh, absolutely.
We're starting to see why this isn't just a nice to have.
Right.
It's a real key to making the most of all your hard work. Let's dive a little deeper into what's actually going on inside your body during this cool down phase.
If you look at the physiological processes, it's all about returning your body back to its balanced state after the demands of the workout.
Okay.
So, for example, with your heart rate and circulation, as we said, blood flow is prioritized to your legs during exercise, right?
Right.
That continued light activity during a cool down allows that blood flow to normalize gradually. It prevents that pooling. It ensures a much steadier return to your resting state. It's more like, gently dialing down rather than just switching everything off abruptly.
Okay.
And what about that lactate we talked about earlier?
Yeah, what about it?
It seems like the cool down plays a pretty active role there.
It does.
What's fascinating is that those light muscle contractions you get during low intensity pedaling, that combined with the increased blood flow, It actually speeds up the removal of lactate from the muscles. It's a much more active recovery process than just, passively resting right after a really hard ride. It's like your body's actively clearing out the waste.
Oh, wow. So keep moving gently to help clear those pipes.
Exactly.
And how does the nervous system actually make that shift we were talking about, from go to rest?
Think of it like this. That intense workout you just did, it sends signals to your body, basically puts it on high alert,
Okay.
the cool down. That acts as a signal in the opposite direction. The reduced intensity is basically telling your body, hey, it's safe to start downshifting.
Okay.
Your heart rate and your breathing, they start to slow down, and those hormones associated with stress, they begin to decrease. This allows your parasympathetic nervous system, the one focused on restoration,
Right.
to start becoming more dominant again. And that's a crucial step to kickstart the entire repair and recovery process.
All right. I think we're convinced.
Good.
Cool downs. They're not optional. They're absolutely essential. But let's get practical. How do we actually structure an effective cool down after an indoor cycling session?
Yeah.
What should we be doing in those few minutes?
Our sources suggest aiming for around 8 to 12 minutes total.
Okay.
You want to break this down into two main parts. The first, and I would argue the most important part,
Okay.
is an extended period of low-intensity riding. So that's about 5 to 8 minutes.
Now, low intensity, it can mean different things to different people. So
Yeah.
is there a way to make this part, a little more engaging than just pedaling with no resistance? I mean,
That's a great
it
point.
can get kind of boring.
It can. It can. Instead of just zoning out, what you can try to do is actually mirroring a segment from your main workout,
Okay.
but, at a much, much lower effort level.
I like that.
So, for instance, if you did a bunch of standing climbs,
Right.
transition to a seated climb with very light resistance,
Okay.
or if you had some high-speed flat sections, ease into a really relaxed, steady pace. This not only helps you wind down physically, but it kind of keeps you engaged mentally, just in a different way.
I love that. It gives structure to those last few minutes on the bike. Now, what specific guidelines should we be aiming for during this low intensity phase?
So think about a cadence of around 80 to 90 revolutions per minute, or RPMs. Resistance should be very light, just enough to maintain a smooth pedal stroke, no real exertion. Your effort level, I mean, it should feel very, very easy, maybe like a 3 out of 10 on that perceived exertion scale. Just really concentrate on deep, controlled breathing and smooth, consistent pedaling.
Got it. A few minutes of that nice, easy spinning. What comes after that in an effective cool down?
The second key component is stretching, and you should really spend about 5 minutes on this. This is your opportunity to really target all those muscles that you've been working so hard, to improve your flexibility.
Right, right.
And that's super important for recovery and just preventing any future stiffness.
Absolutely. We spend so much time in that, kind of hunched over cycling position.
Exactly.
What are some stretches that are especially helpful for us indoor cyclists?
There are definitely a few key areas to focus on. Starting with your quadriceps, the front of your thighs, a really simple standing quad stretch where you gently pull your heel towards your glutes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's a great one to target those muscles. Then there are the hamstrings, the back of your legs.
Okay.
You can stretch these by extending one leg straight out while you're seated on the floor and just reaching for your toes. Don't forget your hip flexors.
Right.
A kneeling hip flexor stretch, where you gently push your hips forward.
I know that one, yeah.
Yeah, that can really help counteract that tightness that builds up from being in that bent hip position on the bike.
It's amazing how much tension you build up without even realizing it.
It's true.
So we've hit the quads, the hamstrings, the hip flexors. Anything else?
Oh, absolutely. Your calf muscles, they're crucial for, keeping your pedaling stable. So make sure to stretch them. You can do this by leaning against a wall with one leg straight and the other leg bent. And then finally, don't forget your lower back and shoulders. Just doing some gentle twists while you're seated or, some overhead reaches, that can really help release tension that builds up from maintaining that cycling posture.
Fantastic. So we've got the low intensity riding and the stretching covered for the cool down itself.
Yeah.
But our sources really emphasize that what you do after you've cooled down is crucial for recovery too.
Yes.
So let's talk about post-ride nutrition and hydration.
This is where you can really make a huge difference in your recovery. There's a window of about 30 to 60 minutes after your ride
Oh, wow.
where your body is primed for refueling and repairing.
Okay.
Getting the right nutrients in during this time can really impact how you feel and how ready you are for your next workout.
So timing is key here.
It is.
What kind of fuel should we be putting into our bodies in that post-cooldown window?
You really want to focus on replenishing your energy stores and repairing those hardworking muscles.
Okay.
So that means prioritizing carbohydrates to restore your glycogen levels. Think whole grains, fruits, rice, maybe even some oats,
All right.
and then protein. That's essential for muscle repair. So good sources there are things like eggs, Greek yogurt, lean meats, tofu, or even a protein shake. And even a little bit of healthy fats from things like nuts, avocado, or olive oil can further support that overall recovery process.
So it's really a combination of carbs, proteins, and healthy fats that we should be looking for.
It is.
Can you give us some examples of like easy post-ride snacks that incorporate all those things?
Sure, sure. A smoothie with fruit, protein powder, maybe some spinach. That's always a really quick and easy option. Greek yogurt with granola and some berries is another great choice. Or if you're looking for something savory, even something as simple as scrambled eggs with whole wheat toast, all of these provide a good mix of those key nutrients.
Those all sound really manageable even when you're feeling tired after a ride, which I often am.
Yeah.
Now, what about hydration? We're sweating a lot during these indoor cycling sessions, so
Rehydration is absolutely essential. Water should always be your go-to. It's the foundation. But especially after a really long or tough workout, or if you know you tend to sweat a lot, consider incorporating some electrolyte-rich drinks.
okay.
That could be something like coconut water, sports drinks, or those electrolyte tablets that you can just mix with water.
Why are electrolytes so important, especially after those tougher workouts?
Well, electrolytes like sodium and potassium, they're really crucial for muscle function and nerve signaling. And when you sweat, you lose those electrolytes. So replenishing them is really important for preventing muscle cramps and just making sure your muscles can recover properly, particularly after those challenging sessions over an hour, where you've lost a lot of fluids.
This has really opened my eyes to how important both the cool down and that post-ride fueling are. It's not just about the workout itself, it's about everything that comes before and after too.
That's exactly it. By making that conscious effort to incorporate an effective cool down and then fueling your body with what it needs after.
Right.
You're not just minimizing any discomfort, you're actually supporting your body's ability to adapt and recover. And that ultimately leads to better performance, greater enjoyment of your whole indoor cycling journey. It's a win-win.
So the next time you're wrapping up a tough indoor cycling session, I want you to really think about this. Taking those extra minutes for a proper cool down and then refueling your body strategically, it can make a world of difference, not just in how you recover immediately, but in your long-term progress and how good you feel day in and day out. What's one small change you can commit to today to start reaping those benefits? It's definitely something to consider as you cool down from this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.